You ever been to Patagonia? Man, it's beautiful down there. Miles of open trails, mountains that seem to scrape the sky, and a silence so deep it almost presses on your ears. That's why I went. I wanted peace, a break from city noise, from people. I wanted to feel small against nature, but I guess I got more than I bargained for. A lot more. I'd been hiking alone for 3 days. I know, not the smartest thing, but I like hiking solo. It clears my head. Plus, I figured in a place like Patagonia, what's the worst that could happen? The worst thing on my mind was twisting an ankle or running out of water. It was day 4 when things started feeling off. I had set out early that morning, planning to hit a ridge I'd read about in some forum. Said the views from up there were unreal. The sky was that crystal clear blue, the kind that makes you feel alive just standing under it. But I couldn't shake this feeling, this weird prickling at the back of my neck, like I was being watched. Now I've hiked all over, Appalachians, Rockies, Sierra Nevada, seen my fair share of wildlife. But this didn't feel like that. It wasn't the same as knowing there's a bear nearby or spotting a mountain lion in the distance. This felt intentional. I shrugged it off. Could have been the altitude or just my brain playing tricks. Kept walking, pushing the thought away. By noon, I hit a clearing, and that's when I heard it. Footsteps. But not like an animal. Heavier, more deliberate. And the weird thing? It sounded like 2 legs, not 4. Now, I know how crazy that sounds, but there it was, clear as day. I stopped, turned around slowly, scanning the tree line. Nothing. Just wind through the branches and the occasional creak of old wood. But the footsteps, they were gone. Just like that. So, I kept moving. A little faster now, though. No need to stick around and wait for whatever was out there. That's when I noticed the woods had gone quiet. No birds, no bugs, nothing. I've heard about that before, you know? When nature goes quiet, it usually means something's up. Something's wrong. I'd gone maybe a mile when I saw it. Movement, just at the edge of my vision, darting between the trees. Fast, like a shadow flickering in and out. My heart jumped into my throat. I'm not gonna lie. I was freaked, but I didn't stop. I wasn't about to find out what it was. I figured if I kept walking, maybe I'd lose whatever was tailing me. So I sped up, kept my head down, tried to ignore the growing sense that I wasn't alone. And for a while, it worked. The trail stretched out ahead of me, winding through the trees, the mountains looming in the distance. But then I heard it again, the footsteps, closer this time. And worse, I wasn't hearing just one set anymore. There were more. 2, maybe 3. Hell, maybe more than that. My chest tightened, my legs felt heavy, but I forced myself to keep moving, faster now. No more casual hike. This was survival mode. I hit another clearing, and that's when I saw them. They were creatures. No other way to describe them. 2-legged, hunched over, but tall, easily over 6 feet, covered in thick, matted fur. Their faces, God, their faces were the stuff of nightmares. Elongated jaws full of sharp, jagged teeth. Eyes that glowed like dim coals in the shadows. And the worst part? They weren't just watching me. They were circling, stalking. I froze. My mind screamed at me to run, but my body wouldn't listen. One of them stepped closer, its claws crunching on the ground. I could see its breath in the cold air, hear the low growl rumbling in its chest. It moved like it was used to hunting, like it had done this 1,000 times before. I had a knife on me, but what good would that do against a pack of these things? They inched closer, and that's when I snapped out of it. Adrenaline hit, and I bolted. I ran harder than I've ever run in my life. My legs were burning, my lungs on fire, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. Not with them behind me, not with the sound of those claws on the ground chasing me down. I could hear them, those creatures, howling in the distance. They were toying with me, like it was a game. The trail twisted, and I barely kept my footing, nearly falling over the edge of a steep drop. My heart was pounding, blood rushing in my ears, but I kept going. I didn't care where the trail led, as long as it was away from them. Eventually, I spotted an outcropping of rocks ahead. It wasn't much, but it was something. I dove behind the rocks, pressing myself into the shadows, trying to make myself as small and quiet as possible. For a long moment, all I could hear was my own breathing, ragged and shallow. Then, silence. No footsteps, no howls, just silence. I waited, heart pounding, expecting them to find me any second, expecting claws and fangs to come out of the dark. But nothing happened. Minutes ticked by. Maybe hours. I couldn't tell. When I finally got the nerve to peek out, they were gone. Vanished, like they were never there. I didn't waste any more time. I hauled myself up and got out of there. Didn't stop until I was back at a ranger station, completely out of breath, shaking. I told them what I'd seen. They didn't believe me. Called it altitude sickness. Said the mind can play tricks when you're out in the wild too long. But I know what I saw. And if you ever find yourself hiking in Patagonia, if you hear footsteps behind you when there shouldn't be anyone around, don't stop. Don't look back. Just run.